Hello there everyone. Today I want to show you how to make this Wirework snake bracelet. And this is what it looks like. So this is the effect that you get. And I've just chosen silver and a red colour in the wire. You can also choose whatever you want. And also you can change up the gauge if you want to. But I'm just going to show you the technique of how to do this. So if you want to learn how to make it, then keep watching. And these are the things that we're going to need. Now first off, we'll need our wire. And in this case, I'm using two different colours, but they're both the same gauge. And the gauge that I'm using for this is a 1mm gauge and wire. Now you can change up the gauge if you want to. You can quite easily use smaller gauges. I would say down to like a 0.6, 0.5 maybe. And then obviously that'll alter the size of your braid as well. But you can do that. And the colours that I'm going to be using is just these two different ones. Silver one and then a red one. Again, you can use whatever colours you want, or you could even do this bracelet in just one colour as well. And then also I'm going to be using some findings. Now I've got some ribbon ends here, and this is what I'm going to use to finish off the braid at the ends. And these are 20mm ribbon ends. And then also I've just got some basic findings. I've got a lobster claw clasp, extender chain and some jump rings. You can also choose to use whatever you want. So let's get materials together and then let's get started. And now the first thing we want to do before we can start making our braid is we need to cut our lengths of wire ready. And I've done that here. And what you'll need is you need 12 lengths of your wire in total. And I've got 8 of my silver colour and 4 of my red colour. Obviously if you're just using one colour you just need 12 lengths in total. But this is the combination that I'm going to be using. And then when you cut them, what you want to do is try and make sure that your wires are as straight as possible, so you don't have any kinks or bends in them. You can either do that by just using your fingers and running your wire through like this a few times. That'll also help warm up the wire and make it more malleable for you to work with when we start the braid. Or you could use something like these. These are nylon jaw pliers, and they are also really good for straightening out your wire. You just place them around your wire like this and then pull your wire through. Now you don't need your wire to be straight completely. When I say straight, I just mean without any kinks or bends. It doesn't matter if it has a bit of a curve to it, like all these do, as you can see. That's absolutely fine. And the length that you need to cut all your wires to is about 45 centimeters each. So cut all them, and then now we need to start setting them up so we can then start our braid. So to start setting the wires up, what I like to do is I like to use some insulation tape, and it's this. And you can really use many different kinds of tape, it doesn't have to be this is just what I like to use. And you just want to cut off a couple of pieces of that. And then what you want to do is you want to get one piece at a time. So just start with a small one like this. And then grab your wires one by one. And I'm going to take a silver one first. And what I'm going to do is place it on my tape towards one end, and so I just have a little bit of my end of my wire sticking up on the other side of the tape. So that's the first one, and because of the colour choice that I'm making, I'm going to then grab one of my red ones, place that next to it, like this, and then another silver one, and place that next to the red one. So when you look at it, now the red one has ended up being the wire in the middle. And then I just use the tape, make sure my wires stay like this, because this is kind of the purpose with the tape as well, to make sure that our wires stay in the position that we want them to, and press it flat like so. And then we want to continue placing our other wires. So again, this is what it looks like now, and you can continue using this piece of tape until you kind of used it up, or you can roll it all the way around and take a new piece, it doesn't matter. I'm just going to continue this because I have enough space there, and then place my next silver wire basically next to the section of wires that I've already done, like that. Remember still to keep a little bit of my end of my wire up on the other side of the tape, and then grab a red one for the middle wire, and just hold it in place as you go, because that's the point of what we're doing now. making it stay in place, and then another silver one to finish off this section. So again we have the red one in the middle, like this. And then I'm going to take the tape and wrap that around that section as well, and then the next section. So they're also bound together. And then just press it flat so your wires kind of stay in the flat sections in the right order with your colours like you want them to. And then you just want to add another piece. And then just continue the same way. Add the rest of your wires in that way. So we end up having 4 sections of our wires. So I now have all my wires set up here, or with my tape around them, in the right order and sections that I want. And then what we just need to do now is basically secure this in place, because what you can still do is if you pull at the wire from the bottom here, you can pull it through the tape. So we just want to do something so we make sure that doesn't happen. So what I'm going to do is take out either flat nose or chain nose pliers. These are just some chain nose. And then the ends that we left here on the other side, I'm going to go in, grab them, and just bend them back around, so back on themselves basically, like so. So they're looping back towards the back side, all of them. And this is just going to stop the wires from pulling through. And just flatten it out a little bit, like so. So now, if you were to pull your wire through, try and pull it through here, it won't be coming through. So that's just going to add the security while you're working with it, so you can work comfortably with it without worrying too much about it being able to pull through. So this is now the setup of all your wires, and now we can start making the actual braid. And now to make this bracelet, what we're going to be doing is a snake braid, or also known as a 4-strand braid. And I do have a video on how to do that with cord if you want to see specifically in more detail how to do it, so I'll link that in the description box below. But what we're going to be doing is, with this piece, we'll be working as if we added these sections of wire. So one section is the 2 silver and 1 red for me, so 3 wires in each section. And we're going to be working with each section as if they were one length of cord or something. So just bear that in mind the whole way. That's how we're going to be working with the braid. And what you're going to do is we're also always going to work with the outer sections and bringing them into the middle. That's how the braid works. But obviously with it being wire, the process is going to be a little bit different than if you were doing it with cord. So what we're going to do is, to start working it, we need to go from the outside here. It doesn't matter what side you start from, that doesn't matter at all, because it won't really affect the final look of the braid. So I'm going to take the outside one just on my right side and bring it over the next section. Remember that every section, how they are split up like this. So the next section is the very next set of 3. And then what I like to do is just hold with my other hand up here where the wire is going to be bending. Hold that as you bring that over and into the middle, so you get like a more of a nice curve, rounded curve to it, rather than just a bend. So that goes over in towards the middle like this, and then on the other side we're going to take the outside section like this, and we need to bring it under the very next section. So on the one side we work with the 2 outer section on this side, and then on this side we're working with the 2 left sections, but they're going the opposite way. So the outer one goes over on this side, and on this side it goes under. Again, just grab hold and bend it, like so. And now the very beginning of your braid might not end up looking that great. It's also the very beginning that's the most fiddly. It's just until you get it started. So now we have the 2 sections, the one you brought over and the one you brought under, are now in the middle like this, and they are crossing over each other. So once you get to the middle, the one that came over the outside section needs to be the one that goes below in the middle here. And the same with the other side, the one that went under needs to go above in the middle. Like that. Like I said, don't be too worried about the beginning here. It's just until we get the braid started and you kind of find a rhythm, a natural rhythm and how you like doing it. So now we have this, and we basically need to repeat the same step again. So on this side, on the right side first, I then again grab up here where it's going to bend to make sure I get more of a natural curve to it, and then bend it in towards the middle over the very next section, like that. And remembering, because we have these 3 wires working as one section, and because the pattern that I've put my wires in, and even if you hadn't used different colours, just try and keep your wires flat, so you always have the coloured one in the middle and then all your wires are flat next to each other. That's what's going to give you this nice final effect. And then working over to the other side, the outside section you want to bring it under the next one and then over the one in the middle, and then give it that nice curve by holding on to it like so. And then it might look a little bit funny now, as you can see, but like I said, don't worry too much. We're slowly building it up and finding our rhythm and how we like doing it. And you can always cut off the little first section when you're done with it, just until you kind of got to the point where your braid has gotten nice and neat. So we've basically done 2 pieces of braid now, and that's really all there is to it. You just have to keep going the same way, remembering to hold your sections flat, grab hold of it with your fingers to get a nice curve in it, bring it over on one side into the middle like so, and then on the other side bring it under and into the middle, and then over that middle section you just already brought in there, and then keep hold of it like so, and just make sure to try and keep your sections separated like that. And now you can slowly start to see that it's forming there, the nice pattern that we're going to get. And because we have that coloured wire in the middle of each section and it's kind of framed by the silver, it gives you an even nicer effect. So you just keep going like this and just take it slow, take your time, do each bit of the braid nice and slow so you get the same even look throughout the whole braid to make it nice and consistent. And then just keep going until you've used up the full length of your wires. So I've now finished the braid, continued all the way to the end where I no longer really have any lengths left to work with. And so this is the effect that you get. It ends up looking like this. And it's the same on both sides, so it doesn't matter what side you end up using. What you'll probably find as you're doing your braid, that the pieces that you finished, it'll have like a natural curve to it. So you can just keep that curve. I've just straightened it out just for the purpose of showing you. But just keep that curve and then it'll be a lot easier to shape it into the bracelet shape that you need. And also, what I want to say is if you want to make more of these than just one bracelet, if you want to just make one, this has turned out to be longer than what I'll need for one. I might even be able to get 2 bracelets out of this if I'm lucky. So you can make your lengths a little bit shorter, but also it's just to make sure that you have enough to work with as well though. But if you want to make more than one, I recommend that rather than planning to do one bracelet at a time, you're going to have more wastage. So what I recommend doing is do long lengths of wire that you're working with. So you have one long length that you're then going to cut into the lengths that you need for the individual bracelets. Because that way you'll cut and you won't have any wastage in between where you cut. So that's just a little tip if you want to make more than one. But what we need to do now is then finish off the ends so we can then start turning it into the bracelet. So to finish off this end, what I'm going to do is get out some wire cutters, or flush cutters in my case, but you can just use regular wire cutters if that's what you have. And then we just need to cut off the excess length here. So you just go across from one side, just do a bit at a time. Like this. Cut all the wires off, going all the way across to the other side, like that. So you now cut off the excess, and you've gone across from one side to the other one in roughly a straight line. It doesn't have to be perfect because we're just going to do something to this end as well. And then what we need to do is we need to obviously cut it off at the other end as well. But before I do that, I'm just going to get out a measuring tape so I can measure how long my bracelet is going to be, so I don't cut it too short or too long. And I'm going to make roughly about a 7.5 inch bracelet. So I'm going to cut this at about 7 inches, because you got to remember when we do the lock as well at the end, when we attach that, that's going to take up a little bit of space as well. So you want to just account for that. So then I'm just going to go in on this end when I've measured it, and then just do the same thing as before, go all the way across and cut off your wire here like this. So that's one section. And you just again want to do it roughly a straight line. And this is where I told you about, if you want to make more than one bracelet, this is the best way to do it, to avoid as much wastage as possible of your wire, because then you cut straight across from here, and then that's done. You don't have anything you have to throw out or that you can't use, because then you have this piece that can be an intact bracelet as well. So just cut that across, and then what we need to do is finish off the ends. So I now have my finished length of my braid here that we're going to turn into the bracelet, and to do that, this is where our ribbon ends come in. So we're going to need to start using them now, and these are going to go onto the ends of our wire like this. So we fasten it on securely, so you then have this loop in it you can use to then attach your lock and extender chain if that's what you want to use. But also so we finish off the ends of our braid nicely and the wire, so it's nice and secure and comfortable to wear as well. So that's what we're going to be doing. But before we do that, I'm just going to prepare my ends. Because if you get your ribbon end and place it on there, these work the way that you place whatever you've made inside, and then you clamp them down with either some flat nose pliers or chain nose pliers like this, and you just go around and clamp them down. Now what I like to do when I'm using it on this wire is I want to make sure it's as secure as possible, so it's not going to kind of break while you're wearing it. So what I do is I'm going to use some glue that I'm going to show you, but also I'm going to prepare the ends of my wire a little bit, because these are just straight wires now, and I personally feel that if not straight away then in time, if you don't kind of roughen up the ends like I'm going to show you, you'll be able to just kind of pull them out even though there's glue in there as well. So what I'm going to do is grab my chain nose pliers and then kind of go in and take the individual wires of my sections. Just take your time with this. Just grab one wire at a time, just a couple of millimeters down from the very end, and then I just want to bend it. So put a bend or kink in there, and like I said, just do one wire at a time, like that. And obviously make sure that you keep your braid nice and neat, so just adjust that as you go, like that. And the same on the other side, and you can bend them opposite ways as well. So say on this side I've got this one, I'm going to bend that way, and then the same with the next one, because this is basically just to roughen up the ends, so you give the glue something basically inside the ribbon end to grab onto, so you can't just, your wires won't just slip out because they're nice and straight and smooth. This will give something for your glue to grab onto and really get in between So that's why I like doing this, like so, and we just need the last two as well. So just do this on all of the ends, and you want to do this on the other end as well, of course. So I've now gotten this end ready, and I'm quite happy with how that's going to turn out. So what I'm going to do next is get one ribbon end out. I'm doing one end at a time, and then I want to get my glue out. Now for this I particularly like using the glue that's called E6000, and I just have this tube, and I just use like a toothpick or something to apply it with, and I find this glue really good for this kind of work. It's definitely my favourite glue for this because it's industrial strength, so it's really strong glue in general, and it works brilliantly for this. And then what you'll find as well is it dries clear, so you can see it's clear, but it also dries clear, so if anything kind of spills out it won't really matter that much because you can't really tell anyway. And what I just do is get my toothpick, get some glue on there, and then get right in there in the ribbon end. Make sure to get the glue up and down the sides of the ribbon end and then down on the bottom as well. Now you don't want too much glue because obviously you don't want so much that it's going to be spilling out too much when you clamp it down. Just enough to coat the sides so we can grab on to the braid as well. And I also like to put some glue onto the end of the braid, so to the part that's going to be going inside the ribbon end, because then we won't just be putting glue in the ribbon end and then putting the wires in. We'll actually be putting glue here in between all the nooks and crannies on the wire that we've just created, which will make it even stronger, because then the glue from each piece is going to adhere to each other. So just get some glue in there like that until you're happy with that, and then we'll get the ribbon end, place it on the end here, get a wire ends into that ribbon end, and then I like to kind of hold my hand on my braid and then use my fingers to hold the ribbon end in place, because now we need to then get a pliers and clamp it down. So I'll get my chain nose pliers and then go in on one side and start clamping it down. Now what I don't do is I don't go in on one side and clamp it down all the way. I like to do it gently, a little at a time, working across from one side to the other like that, because that way I make sure that it stays in place as I'm doing it. And then when you feel like you're kind of getting there and you're happy with where it's sitting, so it's not too far from one side or anything, you then clamp it down nice and tight, and that's what's going to really secure it in place. Make sure you properly get to the ends as well, so they're not too open like that. And you can go in on the other side, and you still just have a chance to adjust it a little bit if you need to, until the glue dries. I like to go in from the bottom as well, so the teeth on the ribbon ends can get a proper grip as well, just so everything is as nice and tight as it can get, like so. And if there's anything you just need to adjust, now is the time before the glue dries. Just make any final adjustments, and then when you're happy with it, you're happy with the way it sits, and you just leave this to dry. And then once the glue is dried completely, it's going to be really nice and strong and secure. So you want to do that on the other end as well, of course. And then what we need to do is just shape the bracelet. So I've now done both ends here, and we're almost done with our bracelet. All that's left to do now is shape it into obviously the bracelet shape. And you can either bend this around something that has kind of roughly the size and the shape that you want it to be, or you can just use your hands like I'm going to be doing. All I do normally is I just kind of hold it across the whole piece, and then I gently start bending it. And I don't just go in one place and then give it a bend. I gently do it gradually from side to side, so that it then gradually starts getting more and more of a curve. And then you just want to keep doing this, working your way back and forth. You can see you get more of a curve now. Because you want it to get that kind of rounded oval shape to fit your wrist. So just do it gradually like this until you're happy with it. See, we're getting there now. We just want to get the ends in as well. So they go around the back of your wrist. And they're going to meet up. And we're pretty much roughly there now. And it's just perfecting the shape until you're happy with it. Keep going until you feel it's just how you want it. I think I'm roughly there now. Just a little bit more tweaking. But then obviously all that's left to do is use the loops on your ribbon ends here to then attach your jump rings first of all. And then attach whatever findings that you want to use. Extended chain, lobster claw clasp, or whatever you want to use. So attach that to there, and then you have your finished bracelet. So that's how simple it is to make this, and it gives you a really nice effect, I feel, and with the multiple colours in it as well. So I really hope that you enjoyed this, and thank you very much for watching. Hello there everyone. Today I want to show you how to make this wire woven bracelet. And this is what it looks like. So it's lots of lengths of wires woven together, but then you have a colour in there to break it up. So if you want to learn how to make that, then keep watching. And here are the things that